Today on Fitness Speak, we're going to continue our series on body fluids. And last time we did blood, and today we're going to do tears. I know it's kind of sad and it's kind of an odd season to be talking about tears, but a lot of us are crying at the holiday season, and we need to know about tears and just generally about the health properties of crying and tears and what they can do for us. So I learned that we actually cry, or not cry, but make 10 ounces of tears every day. I thought that just kind of blew my mind. And then we actually make about 30 gallons of tears a year. So that's a lot of tears. And men tend to cry less than women, and part of that is because the glands in women and the way that we hold on to tears for women is smaller, and so women's tears tend to overflow more than men. Men may be tearing up just as much, but their tears don't overflow as much as women do. So they're probably crying and we just don't know it. So that's, I thought those were kind of interesting facts about tears. There are 3 different kinds of tears. There are the basal tears, the reflex tears, and the psychogenic tears. First, we're going to talk about the basal tears, and they are the ones that are created in the lacrimal glands, which are located in the outer upper part of the eye or the eyelid. And what happens is every time we blink, it spreads this fluid, which is mostly oil, water, mucus, proteins, and some antibacterial elements, so that it helps to keep the eye healthy and clean and smooth. It helps to actually keep the cornea smooth, so it helps vision. So some people that have dry eye syndrome can actually have blurry vision due to the fact that their lacrimal glands are not making enough tears, or they may be making tears that are evaporating too quickly, or the glands are actually too thick and they can get clogged up. So we may talk about dry eye syndrome in just a little bit, but the basal tears are the ones that really keep our eyes healthy and feeling comfortable. The next kind of tears are the reflex tears, and we all know about those when you cut an onion. You're not sad, you're cutting an onion, and there's that enzyme in the onion that gets in the air and irritates our eyes, and we cry. Or we may have allergies and the pollen makes our eyes itchy and run with tears, or smoke can do it. So those are the reflex tears, and that can also happen when you yawn, or if you look at the sun, or you cough. It's interesting how your body just knows how to protect your eyes, and so it will your eyes will tear up with that reflexive tears to kind of help get that irritant, whatever it is, out of the way. So that's reflex tears or reflexive tears. Now, the biggest one, the one that we all know about, are the psychogenic tears, or the emotional tears, the ones where we cry at the movies, or we cry at weddings if it's sad, or even if it's happy, or if we're looking at our sleeping baby, we can cry and just get really, really teary. Or if we get hurt, that's a kind of tears too, that our body responds to that actual physical pain with tears. Tears are healing, and the tears that come out of our eyes that are the emotional tears are actually have different chemicals in them. They have endorphins in them. So it's healing for our bodies tears and crying with sadness and happiness, it's a healing process, and our body knows how to do it. So it's very healthy to cry, and men and women both cry, and it's good for men and women to cry, and I cry a lot. And I used to try to suppress my tears and my crying, but I don't anymore. I just let them roll down my face because it's a healing thing that's going on, and there's no need to be ashamed of it anymore. The other thing that happens when we cry is when our eyes overflow with tears, it also runs back into our our nasal cavity, back into our nose through the tear ducts that are located right at the inside corner of our eyes. And so those tears run into our nose, and we either can swallow them or we end up blowing our nose, or if we're really, really crying, we'll wipe our nose on our sleeve. I know I do anyway when I get really into it. So that's why your nose gets stuffy and your face gets all red, and your whole body just clenches with that crying and sobbing, and those tears are very, very healthy tears. I learned something interesting in my research about tears, and that is that women's tears actually lower testosterone levels in men. So men become less aroused when they are around a sad, crying woman. I thought that was kind of fascinating. There's a whole article about it, and we will link to that in the show notes because I thought it was a really pretty interesting article about men and their reaction to crying women. I don't think they know that their testosterone levels go down, but there's something in the makeup of the women's tears that actually lowers their testosterone. And there's some thought that the reason for this is that if a woman is being raped, and this is kind of a harsh topic, but if a woman is being raped and she's crying a lot, that the man's testosterone level will go down, and it's possible that it's actually a defense mechanism. Also, women tend to cry, as most of us women and a lot of us men know too. We tend to cry more during menstruating every month, and that is, they're speculating because that's not a very good time to get pregnant. And so it's like women are crying and men are running away as fast as they can. So I just thought that was kind of funny. So tears are something that also babies, that's how they got their needs met. And so there is a conditioned response with tears that even adults sometimes use tears, and they may not be doing it consciously, but they use tears to get their needs met. And so it's an interesting thought to think that tears are being used to get needs met. And if you are crying because you need to have your needs met, then, think about that. Go in and ask yourself, what are these tears about? Are these dramatic tears, or are they tears of real sadness or anger? And it's an opportunity to go inside yourself and look and find out what the tears are about. So let's talk a little bit about conditions. And the main condition is dry eye. And Parkinson's disease can cause this, or diabetes, or if your house is very dry, or if you're taking antihistamines or drinking a lot of alcohol or coffee. These substances are dehydrating, and so it can dry your eyes out and make your eyes feel like sandpaper. It's very, very uncomfortable. This also happens more in women after menopause, and so a lot of times the solution is just to go to the drugstore and get artificial tears and, use those drops several times a day, and a lot of times that'll just solve the problem. If it doesn't solve the problem, you may need to go see an ophthalmologist to get something a little bit stronger in case, the artificial tears just don't do the trick. Sometimes people cry all the time. It can be a severed nerve or some other condition. It's pretty rare, but sometimes people need to have plugs put in their tear ducts so that they're not crying all the time. So that's a little bit about tears, and I encourage people to cry. It's healthy. It's our body's mechanism of healing, and also laughter. We laugh so hard sometimes that we cry, and that's actually my favorite, and that is very, very healing. So that's it for tears, and I wish for you the perfect amount of tears to keep you sane. And go look at the show notes, and that article will be there. And so stay tuned and see what the next body fluid we're going to cover is going to be. Take care.